Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday's night's not testimonial, but review of our amazing X39 stem cell activation patch. I am Laura Balzer. I am Senior Presidential Director with LifeWave, and I am so excited to have Dr. Dawn here with us tonight. Dawn and I have known each other for a very long time. Don is a MD. He has been a part of the medical world for 40 plus years, but also is a true believer in integrative health. And he believes in the power of the patch and what it does for so many. So we're so excited to have all of our guests here. Don, welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Laura. It's great to be with you tonight, and welcome to everyone. I'd like to start out and just maybe tell you a little bit about me and what I've been doing in case you don't know me or not familiar with my background. As Laura said, I'm an MD, but my area of interest is in natural alternatives. So that's a little bit different. I was trained in the use of pharmaceuticals, but I really teach people a more natural approach. And basically have been doing that for I'm 66 now, and I've been doing this for over 40 years, I guess. And I still feel great and try to practice what I preach. And what I basically teach people to do and teach about health is that there's two areas for your health that I try to help you reach your goals in. And I know you can live longer and stronger when you reach those areas. And they're very simple and yet profound benefits to you. Number one is detoxifying your body, keeping toxins from getting in from the outside and removing toxins that might already be in there. And the other one is balancing your immune system, because you are fearfully and wonderfully made. No matter what you might be dealing with right now, your body has ways to help you to improve your health, to get and stay healthy naturally. And what I do is based on my books. I've written several books, and one of them is called 10 Keys That Cure. Do this and live healthy. And there are 10 things, not the only things that are important for your health, but there are 10 key ingredients that I've found to be foundational for your health. And we should always be thinking about those and keeping those as a good foundation. And I'll just mention those very briefly before we get into this exciting lesson and talk about this brand new technology that I've never seen anything like, that I know you're going to be excited about learning about with me tonight. And the first one of the 10 keys is learn to relax. And I say that because stress is arguably the number one enemy of your immune system. We actually have something that can help you in that arena as well. Next one, number two, is get to bed on time. Resting time is restoration time. It's when your body rebuilds back up to keep winning this war that's constantly going on, to keep you healthy or to try to take your health away. We actually have a patch for that as well. And then do your exercise. Exercise moves immune fluid. If you move your body, you will improve your body. And we've got patches that help in that arena too. And then number four is breathe fresh air. It may sound simple, but it's profound. Oxygen is the number one nutrient required by your body, by all parts of your body on a second-to-second basis. And so we want to make sure we're getting that fresh air when we can. And then sunshine. You may find that's interesting that I include sunshine as one of the 10 keys. It is so important. And in fact, it's the basis, the fact that sunshine, the UV from the sun, takes the cholesterol in your skin and makes it into vitamin D, is something we're going to talk about in a minute here, called photobiomodulation. Your body's doing it all the time. And that's what this technology is based on. So learn to relax, get to bed on time, and do your exercise. Breathe fresh air when the sun's out there. And then finally, the last 5 keys of those 10 keys that cure are based on what you eat. Because you are what you eat, or more technically correct, you are what you ate. These are not the only things you can eat, but I think it's the healthiest choices. And number 6, 7, and 8 are fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Those are real foods, God-made foods, not man-made processed foods. These are nutrient dense, and your body thrives on them. So that's number 6, 7, and 8. And number 9 is white if you choose meat. There's a lot of research out there that supports avoiding meats, certainly as the mainstay of your diet. That can be very beneficial health-wise. And then finally, this one's so important and so important to the technology we're going to talk about tonight is drink what you're mostly made of, which is water. Your body is mostly water, and you must stay hydrated to stay healthy. So it's on the basis of these 10 keys that cure and detoxifying your body and balancing your immune system that I've been doing for, as I say, over 40 years. That's my background. But I was introduced to this exciting technology by Dr. Stacy Holwiger, who normally is with you on this broadcast tonight, but I'm honored to be standing in for her, and by Dr. Stan and Jody Gravely and Laura. When I first heard about this, they taught me or told me about this inventor, David Schmidt, who I've now had the pleasure of meeting, about how in around year 2000, a little before that, he was asked by the Department of Defense to find some way to get the Navy SEALs, when they were on long ventures in a submarine, to keep their energy levels up without using caffeine or amphetamines. That's a difficult task. And so what he began to do was research this thing that I've talked about, that I said that word before, photobiomodulation, which is simply light therapy. And he developed a patch. It's a patch. It looks like this right here. And it's just a simple little, about the size of a quarter patch. And this technology was for energy, and it worked super well. And they started using that technology. And then it was eventually used also by Olympic swimmers, and they had such great success with it. Well, things went on. And then around 2004, this company was actually founded, LifeWave, and David continued to develop patches, a number of different patches. But things really took a turn, really catapulting into the future of LifeWave just a couple years ago, when he finally developed a patch that he'd been working on for many, many years, over a decade, and spent millions of dollars researching. And this is our X39 patch, which that's actually the patch that I have here. It says X39 on the back of it. And this is our stem cell activation patch. And that made such a difference in so many people's lives. And we saw tremendous growth in the company and exposure. And because it has to do with stem cell technology. Now, maybe most of us have probably heard of stem cell technology. Many of us may not be familiar with it or know exactly what it is, but we've heard good things about it, and it is great technology. And what is a stem cell anyway? That's a good foundational issue that we need to deal with if we want to understand this company and what it's doing for your health and how it's going to work for you. And stem cells are simply cells that are in your body. They're most abundant when you're younger. The younger you are, the more abundant they are in your body, and they tend to decrease with time, both in numbers and in their activity level. In fact, if you want to look at some statistics on it, which are quite striking and remarkable, and this might be a good enough reason for you to use this technology just based on this. By the time you're 35 years old, your stem cell activity and stem cell numbers decrease by about 50%. And then by the time you're 65, it can be decreased by up to 90%. So that's probably a good enough reason to try this technology. We tend to think in terms of, well, I don't really have anything wrong with me, so why would I use something like this? Well, there's a lot of good reasons. It's called restoration and restoring your youth and rejuvenation. This is good for everyone. It's particularly good I used to say it's the anti-aging science of the future. Now I say it's the reverse aging science of the future. We can actually measure biomarkers at your cells, at the cellular level, and tell you your age in your own cells. And we've got some studies that show some beneficial results of actually de-aging yourself. So what a powerful and great technology. So what the unique part about stem cells is this: stem cells have the ability in your body to turn into whatever kind of cell your body needs. And what does that mean? Well, whether it's a heart cell that needs to beat more efficiently, they could become that, or an immune cell to go out and try to fight sickness and disease. It could become one of the many immune cells that we have, or a muscle cell if you need more energy. That these stem cells can turn into those kinds of cells in your body, whatever kinds of cells that they need to be. And there's no other cells in your body that are quite like it. You're made of about 100 trillion cells, and you're only as healthy as your individual cells. And your body's constantly turning over. And part of the way that this process of body being renewed and restored all the time is facilitated is by stem cell functioning. The better your stem cells function, the more rejuvenated and restored and youthful your body is, whether it's a skin cell, or it's a joint cartilage cell, or it's a lung cell, or part of your GI tract. Most of your immune system is along the GI tracts. That's why I teach people the road to health is paved with good intestines. And you can certainly see the benefit of that when you have great.
Hold on. Don, hold on just 1 minute. We lost you. Hold the phone. I don't know what happened. Can you unmute yourself, Don?
Okay.
There you go. We got you back. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. All right. So that's what stem cells do. And we've lost, 50% of the activity by the time we're 35, up to 90% or more by the time you're 65. And you really don't want to lose that activity. You want this restoration and renewal system in your body that's working anyway to work at its peak efficient level, even more youthful days like it used to work. And that's what this stem cell technology is all about. Now, there's a lot of research on stem cells. Stem cells are not on trial, whether the stem cell therapy works or not. There's mountains of research on that, and you're welcome to look that up and study about it. And there's been lots of success with using this technology, so we know that it works. But something that's unique about this LifeWave stem cell patch, the X39, that I want to share with you tonight, when I introduce it to people and talk about it and teach about it like I'm doing tonight, there's really 3 questions that I find people want to know about it. And those are the 3 things that we're going to focus on tonight during our time together. And their 3 questions are this. Number 1, people want to know, is it safe? Of course you want to know if it's safe, right? And let me assure you that it is, and we can prove that to you, and I will prove that to you tonight. Number 2 is, does it work? Of course, we want to know that too, and I can assure you as well that it does work very efficiently, very effectively, and I can also prove that to you tonight and will show you how we can prove that. And number 3 is, finally, is it affordable? And I can assure you of that as well, especially compared to traditional stem cell technology and treatment that's still out there and being used today quite successfully. This is certainly a better way to approach it from a financial standpoint. It is affordable. So let's go through our 3 questions here. Number 1, is it safe? One thing about this patch that I want to teach you tonight is that it is non-transdermal patch. I think when we talk about a patch that we put on our bodies, which is what we do with this, we peel off the backing and it just sticks. And I've got mine on the back of my neck right now at that little bump on C7, the cervical vertebrae 7. If you go down the base of your skull in the back and feel that biggest bump down there at the base of right down your spine. That's C7. It's a great place to wear the a stem cell X39 patch. When you put a patch on, people think in terms of you put it on and then something in the patch is getting in your body and having an effect, like a nicotine patch. That's the way that works, or an estrogen patch, by putting chemicals into the body. And those are fine uses of patches, but this patch is not that. This is a non-transdermal patch. In other words, nothing is transferred from the patch into the body, which is powerful, especially from my point of view as a physician that looks for natural alternatives. And I've seen a lot of things come down the line in 40 years of doing this. Nothing even come close to this technology, partially for this reason, because nothing's going in the patch, going in the body from the patch. That means I can reassure people, as I'm reassuring you tonight, that it's perfectly safe. That means it will not interfere with other modalities that people might be using with, say, pharmaceutical medications people are taking, or with over-the-counter medications, or supplements, or physical therapy, or other things that you might be doing. This won't interfere with them. That checks a big box for me, because when I'm looking for ways to help people naturally, I certainly don't want to interfere with anything else that they're doing in any way, or with what their body is doing. So this one checks that box because it is non-transdermal. Nothing from the patch is going into the body, but it does enhance what the body's doing. Well, so is it safe? It is absolutely safe. No one has to worry about trying the patch. I think everyone should try it. What do you have to lose? Only any kinds of problems that you might be having, or just slowing your body down from aging, or even reversing aging potentially. So it is perfectly safe. That's question number one. Question number two is, how does it work? If this is non-transdermal and nothing's going from that patch into the body, what's going on? How does it work? Well, it works by that word that I've used a couple times already, photobiomodulation. Biomodulation just means changing the body. Bio, the body, modulation, changing it. Things that change your body. Well, many things can change your body, but in this case, photo, that means light changing your body. And I think you're all familiar with this. I mentioned it already, but when you go out in the sun, the process of photobiomodulation takes the UV energy in the sun and converts the cholesterol in your skin to vitamin D. And we've all heard about how powerful vitamin D is. It's almost more than a vitamin. Some people even call it a hormone. It helps with the immune system, for strong bones and teeth. In fact, the bone marrow is where the cells of the immune system are formed. So we all want to have enough of that vitamin D on board. And part of the way that the body is able to keep the vitamin D levels adequate is by using the ultraviolet energy from the sun in the process of photobiomodulation, converting that into vitamin D. So this is nothing new, this principle, certainly. Your body has been depending on it all your life, and everyone that's ever lived depends on photobiomodulation. What this is, with this patch, is a new way of taking that process and very specifically using it to enhance what's already going on in the body, very specifically. And let me tell you how it works. We all make energy. We all have, we produce infrared, which is, if you're 98.6, your temperature, which you are, right about there, you're producing some infrared. And of course, that's why we can see each other at nighttime, even when there's no light. With the infrared goggles, you can see people or animals or whatever with the infrared, because we produce that infrared. Well, that energy is what is utilized by this patch. This very center of this patch has a combination of organic amino acids, sugars, salts, a very specific formula that takes this infrared that your body's constantly producing and causes that structure to make a wavelength of light. It makes light. And that light is reflected back into the body, and that's what causes the benefit, whatever the patch may be. If it's an energy patch, it's for energy. If it's the stem cell patch, that's what opens those stem cell activating pathways and can increase the number of stem cells. So really what's happening here is it's just using the body as the battery. The body is the energy source for this crystalline structure of amino acids that produces a very specific wavelength of light. And it's the specific wavelength of light that determines what the patch is going to do. Now, in the case of X39, what it causes is a peptide, and that peptide is called GHK copper peptide. That's not something you have to remember, but that's also well researched on what it does. It does a number of wonderful things in your body, but one thing that it does is activate stem cells, activate numbers of stem cells and the activity of stem cells. So this light that's formed from the patch increases your own body's levels of GHK copper peptide, which is a peptide your own body makes as well. And that's what opens these stem cell pathways. That's particularly interesting and important for me as a physician because it is your own body doing it. We're not saying this patch is going to do anything. We certainly don't make any claims. It's not meant to diagnose or treat any kind of sickness and disease. We wouldn't say that. It wouldn't be true. What it is doing is taking the body's own energy and forming this light that then causes differences for the body to make and lets the body makes changes that help support your own level of health. So it's very unique in that sense, making it safe, and then how it works with the photobiomodulation with the increase of this GHK copper peptide. Now that's for the X39 patch. There's other patches that do other things, but the difference between patches is the light wave that it actually causes to make and be reflected back into your body. So is it safe? It's absolutely safe because it's your own body doing it, not the patch. The patch is just using the body as energy source and forming that light and letting your body do what it wants to do and does naturally with the light from the sun, for example. But it enhances that process and helps you to go back to a more youthful age and time in your body where things are just working better. Does it work? It absolutely works, and we verify that also, not just because I'm saying it or many people have experienced it, although the testimonies are powerful, and I recommend that you look at them. There's literally thousands of them available for just about any kind of struggle that people might be having. You can look it up. You can find someone who was having issues, started patching, and got great benefits. But there are clinical studies, in fact, over 80 clinical studies that you can look up and you can study. We recommend that you do that. In fact, when I first heard about this, it sounded way too good to be true to me. I thought if anything was doing this, everybody would hear about it. And then so it just sounded too good to be true. It was too simple, too easy. How could that possibly be doing all of these wonderful things, and many in very different conditions and situations? But then as I went and studied the clinical studies, well, guess what? Double-blind placebo-controlled studies. Those are studies that you do, and then you find out what happens, and you see if your premise that you started on, is this patch going to actually, for example, increase the body's level of GHK copper peptide? Well, you do a clinical study on it, and you find out, and the people who are in the study don't know whether they're getting placebo or the real thing, and the people that are giving the study don't know, and that's a double-blind study and placebo-controlled, and we found out that indeed it does. And there's over 80 clinical studies on these patches that have been done. So it's perfectly safe. Does it work? It does work, and we can verify that with the clinical studies. In fact, there's over 100 patents on this technology, which is also very important because of the exclusivity of this. You're not going to find this somewhere else. this is patented technology. In fact, there's a 20-year global patent on the X39 stem cell. So you're not going to find that anywhere else. It's here. It's with LifeWave. And that's a powerful premise when you think about it. And we've been using it for a couple of years now. We've got a lot of years left on that patent. So it's safe, it works. And then finally, is it affordable? This is very exciting to me as well, because I've known lots of people that have used stem cell therapy. I've recommended it to people, traditional stem cell therapy, but that involves collecting stem cells from whatever source. Might be from your own body, from your own bone marrow, might be from another person or embryo or whatever it might be, cord blood. There's all different ways of doing this, and then you reintroduce it or inject it to an area in your body, and that's what traditional stem cell technology does, and it can be very effective, but it can cost thousands of dollars, does cost thousands of dollars, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. One person that I know paid for this technology, and it's getting difficult to find. It's difficult to find it, certainly to be done in the United States. And then is it going to work? Well, there's a number of factors that are involved there. I still think it would be worth doing if there wasn't another way to get these kinds of benefits. But I'm happy to tell you that there is. By using these stem cells and that are highly affordable now, it makes it available to everyone, and not just people who may be suffering with whatever situation you might be suffering with, but someone that wants to slow down the aging process or reverse the aging process or put your body back in a situation where it actually was when you were younger. So powerful. Is it affordable? It is affordable. For just a few dollars a day, you can put this patch on and gain all these benefits that I've been talking about. So I call it a smart technology. And why wouldn't you want to use a smart technology? Why do I call it smart technology? Because this stem cell patch, when you use stem cells, when you rejuvenate stem cells, you activate stem cells are smart. They know what part of the body needs to be taken care of. And they'll prioritize that process by going to where it's needed first, taking care of business there, and then going on to another place, and then going on to another place. And that's what I love about this. Another thing I love about this technology is you don't really have to figure out necessarily what someone is struggling with. I think sometimes we spend lots, I don't think, in traditional medicine, we spend lots and lots of money just trying to figure out what's going on in a person, what the diagnosis is. And in this case, it doesn't matter, no matter what the process may be going in your body that you may or may not be aware of, that you need help in. This technology will sense that, go to that area, and with priority, start to attack and to restore and renew. And you know what? Think about this. There may be some things, like you may know some things right now. You'd say, boy, I'd really like to get this area of my body. I'd like to get my lungs working better because I've had some issues there, and that's something that I've struggled with, or my heart or my nerves, whatever the tissue might be. But there might be something more important than that going on in your body that you're not aware of. There may be an abnormal growth somewhere that's happening all the time in our body, but we've got an immune system that's designed to recognize it and go after it and remove it and correct it. So there can be situations where this technology can be helping you in an area you wouldn't even know you had an idea that you needed help in this area, but it truly can be life-changing and even life-saving, I believe, just in that regard. So it goes to the area where it's needed. And another thing I love about this technology is it's addressing the cause of the problem, not just covering the symptoms. I mean, we've gotten really good.
Unfortunately,
William, really good in modern medicine.
Very restless today.
Dealing with covering symptoms, whether it be pain, whether it be discomfort of any kind. We're good at that, and even over-the-counter medications. But often what we're doing to cover those symptoms makes the cause, ignores the cause for sure, but also can make the cause even worse. So that's another reason I call this smart technology. It's not just covering the symptoms, it's actually going to the root of the cause of the problem and correcting what's going on there. And it's not the patch that's doing that. Remember, the patch is just activating a system in your own body that's doing that. Isn't it phenomenal? It's your body that's ready, willing, and able to fight sickness and disease at all times and is doing that to the best of its ability, but it just wants to be enhanced. And that's what this technology is doing. So it goes where it's needed. It addresses the cause of the problem, not just covering the symptoms, although I don't have anything against covering symptoms. And you certainly will experience relief from symptoms in many cases when you use this technology. A question that I'm asked from people, okay, let's say I decide to use this X39 stem cell patch. What can I expect to happen when I put that patch on? Well, you know, I can tell you what's going to happen because you can go to the clinical studies and find out. You're going to increase your level of GHK copper peptide, which then the body uses to enhance those stem cell pathways and the number of stem cells and the activity of stem cells, all of those different kinds of benefits. A number of different things immediately start to go to work. There's even on a genetic level a benefit from this technology. I haven't even mentioned that yet, but I want to make sure to mention that because this patch affects 3,000 to 4,000 of your genes immediately when you put it on. You have about 19,000 genes, but they talk to each other. And when you affect that many genes, it's talking to other genes. And we used to think, well, if you have, genetic issue, it's just, I have these genes and that's the way it is. Nothing you can do about that. But that's not true. The truth is you may have a gene, but is it going to be expressed or not? Is it going to be upregulated, downregulated? That's what determines how the genes affect the body. And this new smart technology can actually act on a genetic level to restore and rejuvenate genes to a healthier expression. I mean, that's an exciting enough reason right there to use this technology. But what do you expect when you put the patch on? And by the way, you put the patch on for 12 hours. We wear it 12 hours on and 12 hours off. A couple of reasons for that. Number one, the clinical studies were done using that protocol. Another reason is because we don't want the body to get used to it or acclimate to this technology. If you just left the patch on 24 hours, it wouldn't be dangerous, but you wouldn't continue to get the benefit. If you then put another patch on after that, you just get a much lower percentage. So to retain 100% benefit, to get the most out of the patch, you want to wear it for 12 hours on, take it off for 12 hours. So what do you expect? Well, I'd say most people, when they put the patch on, are going to experience maybe just a general feeling of well-being. You may note some sleeping improvements. Stem cells are really good at helping the skin. The skin's changing, turning over really quickly. So you may notice something there. Energy is very commonly experienced by people. Just a more smooth, sustained energy or a recovery time after exercise. Improvements in thinking, clearer, more focused thinking. All of these things I've heard as people wear the patch, they may expect these kinds of things. Better wound healing, all of the things that stem cells help your body to do. But I think one of the biggest challenges we have as we share this technology with people, and there's an easy way to overcome this challenge, but the challenge is, what if I put this patch on and I don't notice any difference? That's something that we really need to address with people, because not everybody is a one-patch wonder. I love that when that happens. Laura, that happened to Tommy, your husband. It's wonderful. I love all those stories, and we've had stories like that too. Put the patch on, it's day and night. You notice it right away, the very first patch. But that's not always the case. It can happen. Some people during the first week will notice some differences. That's why we highly recommend you do the health tracker form, which you fill out and then it will kind of help you to look through and look for different things, because sometimes we don't notice things. Some pain may go away, which X39 is really good at that too. We do have a specific patch for that. We'll mention that in a minute, the Ice Wave patch, but you may not notice that because you don't miss it when pain's gone. You're just glad it's not there, but unless you think back about it and think, yeah, I was struggling with that. Now that does feel a little better. And we certainly have people experiencing those kinds of things. So the challenge that you meet with people is, what if they put it on and they really don't notice any difference? Well, that doesn't mean the patch is not working. The patch is working, clinically studied. It's going to work at the genetic level. It's going to work at the biochemical level by activating your own body's ability to make these stem cells, start restoring, rejuvenating, but it's smart technology. So it's prioritizing. It's going to the area of your body that's really needed, that area that your body says, let's take care of this first. So, for example, you might put the patch on because you've had a rotator cuff problem, a problem with your shoulder for a long time, like my wife had. She's an avid exerciser. And for years, she's had a problem with that and tried everything to get rid of it, but nothing really seemed to work, and didn't notice anything with the patch right away. But about the 3 to 4 week mark, it was gone. Now, if she had just worn that patch for 5 days or 15 days, she might have said, well, I tried it, but it didn't work. Well, it was working, but it was doing other things in her body, and it took that long. There's one gentleman that you've probably seen if you've been watching some of these podcasts, you've seen that's in his 70s that had pain for 30 years, had pain, I think operations on his feet, I think 7 on his feet and many on his knees, and had other benefits from the patch when he started using him in about a month or so, but nothing with that pain. And he used it for many months. Well, it wasn't until the 7th month that something started to happen. About halfway through that 7th month, the pain was gone. Well, he happens to be in his 7th or 8th decade, so that can take that long. And technically, what we recommend for sure, you use the patch 1 month for every decade of life that you've lived to really give it the ability to do what it wants to do. But it is working. Even in the meantime, if you don't feel like it's doing anything, it is. You can rest assured that it is working in your body. It's working in an area of priority that may be and probably is way more important than what you may have been taking it for. But stay tuned. Be consistent with it. I'm sure you'll be happy, and your body will be happy that you did. So
Don,
yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you if I may.
Yes.
Brilliant, all of that. We've got a ton of questions in here for people, so I'm going to start going through them so you can answer them. One of the questions was, why is it important to have a different crystal lattice or composure of molecules in order to signal different variants of frequency?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer is because the body's very specific, and very specific wavelengths of light have very different specific effects on your body. In other words, the wavelength from the X39 patch, stem cell activation patch, is a different wavelength than my second favorite patch, which is the Eon anti-inflammatory patch, which they should be used together. You're showing them there. Those two, I always start with those two, and I don't know if that would come up in the questions, but what patches do you start with? I always, in almost every case, start with the X39 and the Eon, even though you could just use X39 and you would eventually get the benefit from that patch. But I want to make sure to cover this.
Sure.
So we'll go on to about the
Eon the next
patch.
question. Okay.
Eon is our patch for inflammation. It's my second favorite patch, but it's close boy, the more I learn about it, I love it almost as much as X39. It's not a stem cell patch, it's what we call a supporting patch, because it helps balance the body's inflammation level. And inflammation is a component or cause of almost every kind of disease. And inflammation is not a bad thing. Inflammation is actually a great thing. It's the process your body uses to restore and rejuvenate. When it becomes bad, it means increased blood flow. It means white blood cells go there to kind of correct and change some things around and restore and renew. When it becomes bad is when it becomes chronic, long-term, or out of balance, too much inflammation. Here's the reason why I always recommend using the Eon with the X39. And personally, I use the X39 on the back of my neck, and I put the Eon an inch below my belly button, which is another place that's been clinically studied that's easy to use and effective. But the reason I do that is because inflammation is where the action is in the body, and stem cells want to go to where the action is, and they do. And when they go there to that area, they're consumed by that inflammation. So when you use the Eon patch, trying to balance that inflammation in your body at the same time as the X39, you're going to get quicker and better results. So I always recommend you use those together. X39 and Eon, that's a starting point. So if you're wondering, well, what should I start with? Definitely.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah, that's great. I wear it every day. I mean, those two are every day on my body. So, Don, this is a question that we get asked a lot about being on either some sort of chemotherapy pill or taking or receiving chemo or radiation.
Yes.
Explain very quickly why we don't pair those together.
Yeah, well, I got some really strong opinions on things like this, but I want to just preface it by saying always check with your oncologist, always ask if you can use this technology, always check with your doctor before you're, especially if you're dealing with something like cancer, you want to make sure that you're not going to have any issues. So always check with your doctor on that. But the way I'd recommend personally, if I were going through using chemo or radiation, there may be a situation where that's called for. I wouldn't use the patch at the same time as the chemo and radiation, but I would really want my stem cells to be functioning if it wasn't exactly on the day or time when you're getting that kind of treatment. Boy, then it's even more important if your body's dealing with something like a growth to have stem cells activated and working, and inflammation. I mean, chemo and radiation cause a lot of inflammation in your body. They work by killing the fastest growing cells, and you just hope that that's the cancerous cells, and then you hope you don't kill too many other cells to keep from killing your own body, and that's kind of how it works. So you definitely want stem cells working at their best. One of the things that stem cells support is proper immune function. And you have cells in your immune system, a T4 killer cell, for example, that goes around the body and finds a abnormally growing cell and eats it up. So you want those cells to be working at maximum efficiency. And so the only restriction that I feel is necessary is I wouldn't do it right at the same time that you're doing chemo and radiation. What have you heard about that, Laura? How would you explain?
No, I mean, that's exactly how we explain it. I mean, if everybody has different routes that they choose. And I think if that's one that you're choosing, just don't use it on the days that you're receiving. Give the body time to flush out that. Be it chemo or radiation, but you can pop right into the patches, just like Dr. Don just said, and you're going to get great benefit from it.
Okay.
So, Don, this is a great question, and you referred to it in the beginning when you were introducing yourself with the 10 keys to good health. Why is hydration so important when using the patches?
Well, hydration is your body's mostly water. About 75% water, but your brain is 80% water, and the blood is actually 90% water. And the life of the flesh is in the blood. Unless you're getting circulation to tissues and organs, they're dying. In fact, a lack of blood or circulation to an organ causes tissue. That's what a heart attack is. When a certain area of the heart doesn't get enough blood flow, it dies. That's a heart attack. In the brain, when that happens, we call it a stroke or an aneurysm. So that circulation is so important. And unless your body is well hydrated, that circulation isn't going to be working, and everything, every tissue and organ and function in your body isn't going to function as well unless you're well hydrated. Well, let's just talk about X39, stem cell. You activate stem cells. Well, stem cells travel through your body. How do they travel? They travel in the blood. They're activated. They move. They go and do things. So you've got to stay hydrated. And specifically, my goal with people is you take your body weight in pounds, divide that by 2, and drink that number of ounces a day of water. So if you're 150 pounds, your goal is 75 ounces of water. It may seem like a lot at first, but I promise you, as you start doing it, you'll want to continue because it's just much healthier for you, and you'll get used to that water. And don't drink your calories. Drink what you're mostly made of. The 0-calorie hydrator that now fights sickness and disease is essential. Dehydration. A lot of people aren't sick; they're just dehydrated. Everything will work better when you're hydrated, including these patches.
Yes, exactly. I'm going through all these questions in here. Of course, you guys, our clinical studies are not done on diseases. We can only talk about symptoms. And so, Dawn, there's one question here. We've somewhat answered it, but I know this would make her feel comfortable if we addressed it again. Is it safe to use the X39 patch while being in remission from melanoma, harvesting stem cells, so on and so forth? Is it okay for her to be using this technology during that process?
Yes. Well, the way to answer this question and address it always is to focus on what systems in the body that we support with the stem cell patch. And what we're supporting here that would be so important would be the immune system itself. I mean, stem cells help the immune system to work and stay strong against abnormal growth. So it's 10 times, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 times more important for a person who has a history of abnormal growth in their body to be using technology like this. Is it safe? Absolutely safe. It's safer than anything else I know that's out there because it's your own body, only using your body as a battery to activate that light and letting that light do in your body what your body can do to get and stay healthy.
Right. I think, Dawn, the biggest thing about this is we're just providing a tool for the body to really function. And all of you on here, I'm pretty sure, are maybe 45 years of age or older, okay? We're really giving the body the tool to function like it did when we were younger. And because time has gone on, different systems in the body don't carry the support like they once did when we were younger, right? And that's what we're doing here. We're providing support and assistance for it to do like it did when you were younger. I mean, Dawn, we never thought about our energy levels when we were 20 and 30.
No,
right?
You didn't have to.
We didn't have to, but now we think about it all the time.
And when you fell and hurt yourself or broke a bone or whatever, how quickly it repaired, or cut yourself. Little children, they cut themselves and wow, that just skin is healed right back up. Why? Because they've got tremendous stem cell activity. So that's what we're helping the body to restore. It's the body doing the work here. It's the body.
Now, this is a question we get all the time. And I know that you're just going to answer this perfectly. X39 during pregnancy.
Well, I highly recommend you go to your obstetrician gynecologist and ask, because that is the right answer. If anyone asks you a question like that, you say, always check with your doctor first. But I'll just make this personal for me. If my wife was pregnant, and she was 4 times, got the proof of that, I would want her stem cells working in her body at maximal function. I mean, when you're forming a new human in your body, you want things working right in that body. And to me, it's as important as good nutrition during pregnancy, and the staying hydrated during pregnancy, and getting a moderate amount of exercise and getting plenty of rest. All of these things are extremely important, but also allowing your body with photobiomodulation, with simply having that light reflected into your body to be healthier. Now, having said all that, I'm not recommending it for pregnancy, because technically we can't say that. But I told you personally, if Susan was pregnant again, and I hope she's not, but with these patches, who knows? That could happen, I guess.
And I know she's sitting there in front of you right now, and she just fell out of her chair.
Okay.
Don, this is a question too. I mean, we get asked all of this, but this is a great question for everybody. What patches are proper for the daytime and proper for the nighttime? And we all know that there are some variants there. So I'm going to let you talk, and I'm going to hold up.
Okay. All right. I would say the X39 you want to use during the day, for sure. And that's just the way you want to use it. I like to use my Eon at night, the anti-inflammatory patch. But that can be used during the day too. And the way I'd make that choice is, if you wanted to balance anxiety, if you're dealing with that, then you could wear that Eon during the day, because one of the things that it supports in your body is the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the resting versus the sympathetic, the fight or flight system. The Eon helps to support that resting nervous system, so it's going to bring a balance there. And it's powerful patch for that reason, for sure. So that one can be used either day or night. Things like Silent Night, obviously, would be used during the night, that patch, because it's functioning with melatonin and helping your body, your pineal gland, to produce its own natural melatonin. Carnosine, you can use day or night as well. Glutathione, I think you could use it day or night. I've used it during the day mostly. What am I forgetting, Laura?
Well, I think glutathione is an option, whether people want to wear that night or day. I think the specific ones that you really want to wear at night is Silent Night and Alavita. Those are our nighttime patches.
Yes.
I would get my Alavita, you guys, but it's by my bed, and I don't want to pop up and run in there and get it.
Yeah.
But I really think, the X49 is something that we can wear during the day. This is not something that you would wear at night. But I think the other supporting patches, and please get back with the person that invited you, because they would be able to share with you our patch summary guide and be able to mark for you when you could wear your patches at that best time for you, because everybody's different, right, Don?
Yes, absolutely. That's a good way to approach that. And then also, while we're here, patch placement, because sometimes people get a little worried about, well, where should I put it? How? You know what? The patch will work anywhere on your body. The reason we recommend C7 on the back of the neck and about an inch below your belly button, those two areas, a couple of reasons for that. They're convenient areas, but the clinical studies were done with those areas too. But the patch can work at any area. In fact, a lot of people are, patch placement's really important for the Ice Wave patch, which is for pain. We want to put it.
We love that patch.
Pain. That's a kind of a unique situation there. But otherwise, it's good to know that the patch will work anywhere on your body, because that you have infrared going all over anywhere on your skin, and that patch matrix will then reflect that light back in.
Yes, I love that. Here's a good question, Don, and I think it's relevant to detoxing, hydration. And again, we don't want to talk about specific diseases, but we have somebody here. I gave a friend of mine an X39 who has Parkinson's, and the detox was very overwhelming. And so I know we probably have some suggestions for them where they could, work into it gradually and make sure they're having enough hydration.
Yes, well, it's extremely important in any kind of, and of course, we're not trying to treat any kind of sickness or disease, but what we do want to do, as I mentioned in the very beginning, half of the health equation, and what I teach people to do, my goal is detoxification and balancing immune system. Detoxification is extremely important in situations like you're mentioning here. In fact, a patch that I would highly recommend for that, I'm always going to start with X39 and Eon for sure. That's foundational for any tissue and organ on your body, works everywhere. But the glutathione is going to come to the forefront here because it's a anti-aging and a detox patch that really tends to have benefit in this arena. So that's going to be the next most important patch for this.
Awesome. Real quick, a question that was asked. Everybody, please remember this is a non-transdermal patch. So there is no interaction with anything that you might be doing or taking or using. So that's just we got asked that several times. So I just kind of wanted to answer that very quickly. Let's see. Y'all are sharing some great testimonies. I'm going to be calling y'all for our patching podcast. Everyone's getting amazing results with the patches. Dawn, this is, it doesn't have to do with the patch. And if you could just answer this very quickly, because I think everybody asked the question, how much sunlight should people get on the daily?
You don't really need more than about 20 minutes at peak sun hours. Now, there's going to be variable with every person. What is the nature of your skin? If you're really fair-skinned, you may not be able to tolerate that much, especially from the 11 to 2 hours when that sun's intense. And, is it complete? What's the UV level? Is it complete? No clouds at all? I mean, sometimes 5 minutes might be too much. But I think just an average rule of thumb, try to get about 10 to 20 minutes of sun a day. I think is a good goal.
Yeah. And, I think, Dawn, the reason I bring that up, and we just have a few more minutes, is that, for Dr. Dawn and all of us that have been using the patches for such a long time, we know that nutrition is a base here. And getting outside and getting in the sun, it's just part of the process. And I want everyone to know that, again, this is a tool in your toolbox that you get to decide how you live the rest of your life and what you want that life to look like. And, with that said, Dawn, explain why we request people to wear the patch 12 hours on, 12 hours off. And is one more resting period more powerful than the other? I think that's a great question.
Yes. Well, it's because the body is smart. And the body, if you leave the patch on for more than 12 hours, the body doesn't respond as much to the patch. It just starts to not be as effective. The body gets used to it, so to speak. That's why you can't just leave a patch on days and days on end. It loses its effectiveness. But when we remove it after 12 hours, then we've got that 12 hours of resting and rejuvenation. And then when we put it back on 12 hours later, you get back to as if you've never put a patch on before, 100% benefit. So it's the most efficient use of the patch.
Yes. Okay, so protocol for a bone fracture.
Okay, that's a good one. Now, what am I always going to say? You know by now, I'm going to say X39 and Eon, because you're talking about bones needing to be restored. That's going to be stem cell activity, and then anti-inflammation. When you break a bone, you got inflammation. So those two foundation. But X49, I'm going to highly recommend there because there's some good evidence in clinical studies on strengthening bones, helping with energy, and even helping body and metabolism to metabolize fat calories more efficiently. So you build muscle as opposed to storing fat.
Yes. Okay. We're going to do two more questions. This is one that everybody has. And of course, on Dr. Dawn's recommendation, please understand we respect everyone's choices. And how they choose whether they got vaccinated or whether they did not. The question is, Don, how does the patch provide beneficial to anyone who has vaccine injuries?
Yes. Well, it wouldn't necessarily have to be a vaccine injury. You could fill in the blank with anything, any
Yes.
kind of caused injury. If you've got injury to the body needs to be restored and renewed. And that's going to be the benefit of using patches, especially the X39 and the Eon. That's the dynamic duo there that I'm always going to be recommending for people to start with, because that's going to put your body into repair and restore mode, put it back to where it was before the insult was happening. And so I'd say that's particularly important when you've introduced a foreign substance in your body, which that's what vaccination is. That's the theory of it. You introduce a foreign substance, your body reacts to it, and hopefully the reaction is positive and keeps you from getting the thing you're vaccinated against. Unfortunately, things can go wrong and do go wrong, but fortunately we have something that we can do about it, keeping our inflammation levels down, keeping the stem cell activity up with the dynamic duo X39 and Eon.
Yes. And, Don, I'm going to add one more patch to that because I know some of these long haulers are dealing with things like vascular issues, lung issues, things of that nature. So would you agree that carnosine would be a great add-on for that?
I do. That would be the next one, and almost equally as important would be glutathione. In fact, if I was going to recommend for that situation, that kind of injury, I'd say X39, Eon, carnosine, and glutathione. I'd get them all on, and I'd use them all every day or night.
So, Don, here's a question everybody always likes to know. How many patches do you wear a day?
It depends on the day, but I always have my X39 and my Eon. And then at times I'll wear carnosine and glutathione. I don't have any pain, so I'm not using IceWave, which I don't think we really talked too much about tonight. And I don't really have issues with sleeping, so I'm not using Silent Night. I have been thinking about using Alavita just for the vanity
I don't know.
benefits.
You look pretty good.
But myself, I'm a 2-patch man, although I have been a 4-patch man with the glutathione and the carnosine. But I'm thinking about going with the Alavita because why not?
That's absolutely why not. Why not? All right, let's see. We had one question in here that I really felt like needed to be answered by you, and 3 more popped in and took me off of it. Okay. Don, we have a patch that, we get a lot of thyroid questions and things of that nature. So we have a patch called SP6. Can you explain the benefits of this and the endocrine system and how it helps people, sugar levels and all the things?
Yes. Anytime you have an organ system that needs support, that's when I think of SP6, but particularly in the endocrine system, which is endocrine glands are things like the thyroid, the adrenal glands, the pancreas for diabetes and other things like that. Although we're not saying you cure or treat diabetes with that, but supporting the endocrine glands, the pancreas, the thyroid, the adrenal glands, those glandular support. I'm going to recommend the SP6 for that.
Good. Awesome. Okay. So, wow, you guys were a little over 9. Don, we had almost 460 people on here tonight to be with you. And we're going to have you come back because we have a ton of questions that didn't get answered. And so I want to tell everybody, please get back with the person that invited you here this evening. Reach out to them, let them know what those questions are, and they're going to make sure that they get answered for you from whomever. Yes.
Let me just close with this one comment. I'm so glad to have had time with you tonight. But I guess the number one reason I would say to use this technology is your body is constantly changing. You get new cells, new skin every 28 to 45 days, depending on how old you are. You get new cells, new liver every 6 weeks. You get new cells lining your stomach every 3 to 5 days because of the high acid content there. In 1 year's time, 98% of all the tissues and organs and cells in your body are restored and renewed. And integral in that process is proper stem cell technology. The stem cells are the renewers, the restorers, the rejuvenators. So you want maximum efficiency there. So I would highly recommend this technology, whether you just want to fight aging and reverse aging, or you have something actively going on in your body. Get patching. Pat yourself on the back.
Love that. Everybody, we can't wait to see you next Tuesday. Please feel free to come back. Invite whoever you would like to invite. And I'm pretty sure if we asked Dr. Don to come back, he would certainly show up in this house. So, Don, thank you. I just love you so much.
Thank
and
you.
everybody
Love to
on here
appreciate it.
has really, really enjoyed you. So, again, everybody get back with the person that invited you. Let them help you pick the perfect patches for you and the best wholesale packaging that's going to serve you the most. So you guys have a great evening. Bye-bye.